In the quiet stillness of a moonlit forest, a lone hiker once claimed to witness something that defied all logic, a figure that moved with the grace of an animal but bore the unmistakable silhouette of a man. As the creature turned, its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light before it vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only footprints that shifted unnaturally from human to wolf. Stories like this aren't just the stuff of campfire tales, they're part of a global legacy of shapeshifters, beings that have haunted our myths and nightmares for centuries. From the chilling howls of werewolves echoing through European villages to the whispered warnings of skinwalkers in the deserts of the American Southwest, these creatures embody humanity's deepest fears and fascinations. But what if these legends are more than just stories? What if they hold a kernel of truth, a glimpse into the mysteries of transformation and the unknown? In this video, we'll journey through the origins of shapeshifters, uncover their cultural significance, and explore how these enigmatic beings continue to shape our modern imaginations. Get ready to dive into a world where the line between myth and reality blurs, and the secrets of the shapeshifters are waiting to be revealed. Long before the eerie howls of werewolves echoed through medieval Europe or the chilling whispers of skinwalkers spread across the deserts of the Americas, the concept of shape-shifting was already deeply embedded in the human imagination. One of the earliest recorded shape-shifter myths comes from ancient Mesopotamia, where the Epic of Gilgamesh tells of a man transformed into a wolf as punishment for his sins. This idea of transformation as a form of divine retribution or moral lesson is a thread that runs through many ancient cultures. In Greece, the myth of Lycaon serves as a stark example. Once a king, Lycaon's hubris led him to test Zeus by serving him a meal of human flesh. Enraged, the god transformed him into a wolf, forever cursed to roam the wilderness. This tale isn't just a warning against arrogance, it's a reflection of how ancient societies used shape-shifting to explain the consequences of human actions, often tying them to the natural world. But shape-shifting wasn't always about punishment. For many cultures, it was a way to understand the mysteries of the universe. Native American tribes, for instance, wove stories of skinwalkers, beings who could take on the forms of animals to harness their strength or cunning. These tales often served dual purposes, explaining the inexplicable and teaching lessons about the balance between humanity and nature. The Navajo, for example, saw skinwalkers as both a source of fear and a reminder of the power of transformation, both literal and symbolic. In these myths, shape-shifting becomes a metaphor for change itself, whether it's the cycles of the moon, the changing seasons, or the unpredictable nature of life. What's fascinating is how these ancient myths share common themes despite emerging from vastly different parts of the world. Whether it's the Mesopotamian wolfman, the Greek Lycaon, or the Navajo skinwalker, the idea of transformation often carries a dual meaning. On one hand, it represents a loss of humanity, a fall from grace. On the other, it symbolizes a connection to something greater: animals, nature, or even the divine. These stories weren't just entertainment, they were ways for early civilizations to grapple with the unknown, to make sense of their place in the world. As these myths spread and evolved, they began to take on new forms, adapting to the fears and values of the societies that told them. The ancient tales of divine punishment and natural balance laid the groundwork for the more localized legends we recognize today. From the forests of Europe to the deserts of the Americas, the seeds of these ancient stories grew into the rich tapestry of shape-shifter myths that continue to captivate us. And as we'll see next, these legends didn't just survive, they thrived, shaping the way we think about power, identity, and the thin line between man and beast. As the ancient myths of shape-shifters traveled through time and across continents, they began to take on distinct forms, shaped by the fears and beliefs of the cultures that embraced them. In Europe, the werewolf emerged as one of the most enduring and terrifying figures in folklore. Unlike the divine punishments of ancient Mesopotamia or the moral lessons of Greek mythology, the werewolf became a symbol of primal fears of the wilderness, of the unknown, and of the darkness within humanity itself. By the Middle Ages, the legend of the werewolf had taken root, intertwining with the era's superstitions and fears of witchcraft. People whispered of men who, under the light of a full moon, would shed their human skin and transform into ravenous beasts, their howls echoing through the night. Medieval Europe was a time of deep-seated paranoia, where the line between reality and superstition blurred. The fear of werewolves wasn't just about monsters, it was a reflection of societal anxieties. Villages on the edge of dark forests lived in constant dread of wolf attacks, and when livestock went missing or people disappeared, the blame often fell on werewolves. This fear was compounded by the church's growing influence, which saw shape-shifting as a sign of demonic possession or a pact with the devil. The concept of lycanthropy, the ability or curse of transforming into a wolf, became a way to explain the unexplainable, a scapegoat for the chaos of the natural world. One of the most chilling aspects of werewolf folklore is the idea of transformation itself. Stories often describe the agonizing process of bones cracking, muscles stretching, and skin sprouting fur as the human form gives way to something monstrous. The full moon, with its eerie glow, became the catalyst for this change, a symbol of the uncontrollable forces that could turn a man into a beast. And once transformed, the werewolf was said to be driven by an insatiable hunger, a creature of pure instinct and savagery. But the werewolf wasn't just a mindless predator. It was also a tragic figure cursed to lose its humanity and become something it despised. This duality of man and monster, curse and power, is what makes werewolf legends so compelling. In some tales, lycanthropy is a punishment, a divine retribution for wrongdoing. In others, it's a gift, a way to gain strength, speed, and heightened senses. Historical accounts from the 16th and 17th centuries even describe alleged werewolf trials, where people were accused of transforming into wolves to commit heinous acts. These trials often mirrored the witch hunts of the time, fueled by fear and superstition. One infamous case involved a man named Peter Stump, who confessed under torture to being a werewolf and was executed in a particularly gruesome manner. Whether these confessions were genuine or coerced, they revealed just how deeply the fear of werewolves permeated European society. Of course, no discussion of werewolves would be complete without mentioning the legends surrounding their weaknesses. Silver, with its purity and rarity, became the ultimate weapon against these creatures. A silver bullet, it was said, could pierce a werewolf's hide and end its cursed existence. This lore, popularized in modern times by films and literature, has its roots in the medieval belief that silver possessed mystical properties. Alongside the full moon and silver bullets, other vulnerabilities emerged, such as wolfsbane, a poisonous plant said to repel or harm werewolves. These details added layers of mythos to the werewolf legend, making it a creature defined as much by its strengths as by its weaknesses. But while the European werewolf is often seen as a product of fear and superstition, its Native American counterpart, the Skinwalker, offers a different perspective. Where the werewolf is a cursed figure, the Skinwalker is often portrayed as a deliberate practitioner of dark magic, someone who chooses to take on the form of an animal for power or malice. This contrast between the involuntary curse of the werewolf and the intentional transformation of the Skinwalker highlights the diverse ways cultures have interpreted the concept of shape-shifting. And as we'll explore next, the Skinwalker's role in Native American mythology reveals even deeper layers of meaning, rooted in the spiritual and natural world. In the vast, wind-swept deserts of the American Southwest, where the horizon stretches endlessly and the night sky seems to swallow the earth, the Navajo people speak of a figure so feared that its name is rarely uttered aloud, the Skinwalker. Unlike the cursed werewolf of European folklore, the Skinwalker is not a victim of transformation but a willing practitioner of dark magic. This malevolent being, known as Yi-Noldlushii in the Navajo language, has the ability to take on the form of any animal it chooses, often a wolf, coyote, or crow, but its power comes at a terrible cost. To become a Skinwalker, one must break the most sacred of taboos, committing acts so heinous that they sever the individual's connection to humanity and the natural world. The Skinwalker is deeply rooted in Navajo culture, where it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of straying from the path of balance and harmony. In Navajo tradition, witchcraft known as enduringly is considered a corruption of spiritual practices, a misuse of power that disrupts the delicate equilibrium between humans, nature, and the divine. Skinwalkers are said to gain their abilities by performing rituals that violate these sacred boundaries, such as killing a family member or desecrating sacred objects. This deliberate choice to embrace darkness sets the Skinwalker apart from the werewolf, who is often portrayed as a tragic figure cursed by forces beyond their control. Encounters with Skinwalkers are rare but chilling, and they often leave those who experience them deeply shaken. One modern anecdote comes from a Navajo man who, while driving through a remote area at night, claimed to see a figure running alongside his car on all fours. As he sped up, the figure kept pace effortlessly, its eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. When he finally reached a well-lit area, the creature vanished, leaving behind only the memory of its unnerving presence. Stories like this blur the line between folklore and reality, feeding into the enduring mystery of the Skinwalker. The differences between Skinwalkers and werewolves go beyond their origins. While the werewolf is often driven by an uncontrollable hunger or a curse, the Skinwalker acts with intent, using its powers to sow fear, harm, or gain personal advantage. Werewolves are bound by the cycles of the moon, their transformations tied to celestial forces, but Skinwalkers can shift forms at will, making them even more unpredictable and dangerous. This contrast highlights the cultural nuances behind these legends. While the werewolf reflects European fears of losing control to primal instincts, the Skinwalker embodies Navajo anxieties about the misuse of power and the consequences of breaking sacred laws. Yet, despite their differences, both creatures tap into a universal fear, the fear of what happens when humanity's darker impulses take hold. The Skinwalker, with its deliberate embrace of evil, serves as a stark reminder of the choices we make and the lines we cross. It forces us to confront the unsettling idea that transformation isn't always a curse, it can also be a choice, one that reveals the true nature of the person beneath the mask. As we peel back the layers of these legends, we begin to see how they reflect deeper truths about human nature. The Skinwalker, like the werewolf, is more than just a monster. It's a mirror reflecting our fears, our flaws, and the thin line that separates us from the unknown. And as we delve further into the world of shapeshifters, we'll uncover how these ancient myths continue to evolve, shaping our modern understanding of power, identity, and the shadows that lurk within us all. What is it about shapeshifters that captivates us so deeply? Why do stories of humans transforming into beasts or other forms resonate across cultures and centuries? The answer lies not just in the thrill of the supernatural, but in something far more profound: our own psychology. Shapeshifter myths tap into fundamental aspects of the human experience, from our fear of the unknown to our fascination with power and the duality within ourselves. These stories are more than just entertainment. They're mirrors reflecting our deepest anxieties, desires, and struggles. At their core, shapeshifter myths often explore the fear of losing control. The idea of transformation, whether into a wolf, a crow, or some other creature, strikes a chord because it embodies the chaos of the unknown. Imagine the terror of looking in the mirror and no longer recognizing yourself, of feeling your body twist and contort into something alien. This fear isn't just about physical change, it's about identity. Who are we really if the traits we cling to, our rationality, our humanity, can be stripped away so easily? These stories force us to confront the fragility of our sense of self, a theme that resonates on a deeply psychological level, but transformation isn't always terrifying. For some, it's alluring. The ability to shift forms represents ultimate freedom, a way to escape the limitations of the human body and explore new possibilities. Think of the Skinwalker, who willingly embraces the power of transformation, or the werewolf who, in some tales, revels in the strength and heightened senses of their animal form. This duality, fear and fascination, curse and power, is central to the psychological appeal of shapeshifter myths. They allow us to explore the tension between our civilized selves and our primal instincts, between the roles society imposes on us and the wild, untamed parts of our nature. Anthropologists and psychologists have long studied these myths as metaphors for internal and societal conflicts. Carl Jung, for instance, saw shapeshifters as manifestations of the shadow self, the hidden, darker aspects of our personality that we often suppress. In this view, the werewolf isn't just a monster, it's a representation of the parts of ourselves we're afraid to acknowledge. Similarly, myths of transformation can reflect societal anxieties. In times of upheaval or uncertainty, stories of shapeshifters often flourish, serving as a way to process collective fears about change, loss of control, or the erosion of traditional values. Take, for example, the werewolf trials of medieval Europe. These weren't just about hunting monsters, they were a way for communities to make sense of their fears. In a world where famine, disease, and violence were constant threats, the werewolf became a scapegoat, a way to externalize and confront the chaos of the natural world. Even today, our fascination with shapeshifters reflects modern anxieties. In a rapidly changing world where technology and globalization blur the lines of identity, stories of transformation resonate more than ever. They remind us that change, while unsettling, is an intrinsic part of life, and that navigating it requires confronting the unknown within ourselves. So, what does our enduring fascination with shapeshifters say about us? Perhaps it reveals our longing to understand the boundaries of identity, to explore the limits of what it means to be human. It's a reminder that we all carry within us the potential for transformation, not into wolves or crows, but into versions of ourselves we might not yet recognize. These myths challenge us to confront our fears, embrace our complexities, and ultimately, to find balance in the duality of our nature. As we delve deeper into the cultural significance of shapeshifters, we'll see how these psychological themes are woven into the fabric of societies around the world. From the cursed werewolf to the empowered skinwalker, these beings are more than just monsters, they're reflections of the human condition, offering insights into who we are and who we might become. And as we continue this journey, remember, the most fascinating transformations aren't the ones that happen in the moonlight or the desert, they're the ones that happen within us. From the shadowy forests of Japan to the vibrant landscapes of Africa, the concept of shape-shifting takes on countless forms, each reflecting the unique values, fears, and imaginations of its culture. In Japan, the Kitsune, a fox spirit capable of transforming into human form, holds a prominent place in folklore. Unlike the menacing werewolf or the malevolent skinwalker, the Kitsune is often portrayed as a trickster, a being of intelligence and cunning. Legends tell of these creatures using their powers to play pranks, test human morality, or even form deep, complex relationships with people. Yet, the Kitsune isn't purely mischievous. It's also revered as a messenger of Inari, the Shinto deity of rice and fertility. This duality, playful yet sacred, reveals how the Japanese view transformation as a blend of mystery and reverence, a force that can bring both chaos and blessing. On the other side of the world, in the rich tapestry of African folklore, the spider trickster Anansi takes center stage. While Anansi isn't a traditional shape-shifter in the sense of transforming into an animal, his ability to change his appearance and outwit others makes him a fascinating counterpart to other shape-shifter myths. Originating from the Akan people of Ghana, Anansi's stories often serve as moral lessons, teaching listeners about cleverness, resourcefulness, and the consequences of greed. His transformations aren't physical but mental, as he adapts to challenges and uses his wit to navigate a world filled with both danger and opportunity. Anansi's enduring popularity highlights how African cultures have used shape-shifting as a metaphor for adaptability and survival, celebrating the power of the mind over brute strength. Moving to the icy expanses of the Arctic, we encounter the Inuit legend of the Tupilak, a creature created by shamans from animal bones and other materials. Unlike the Kitsune or Anansi, the Tupilak is a product of human intention, crafted to exact revenge or protect its creator. Once brought to life, it can take on various forms, often grotesque and terrifying. However, if the Tupilak's target is stronger than expected, it can turn on its creator, a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked power and vengeance. This myth reflects the Inuits' deep connection to the natural world and their understanding of the delicate balance between creation and destruction, a theme that resonates across many shape-shifter stories. What makes these cultural variations so compelling is how they adapt universal themes to fit local contexts. The Kitsune's cleverness mirrors the Japanese appreciation for subtlety and intellect, while Anansi's resourcefulness speaks to the African emphasis on wit and community. The Tupilak, on the other hand, embodies the Inuits' respect for the forces of nature and the consequences of human actions. Despite their differences, these myths share a common thread: transformation as a reflection of human desires, fears, and values. As these stories were passed down through generations, they evolved, absorbing new elements while retaining their core meanings. Oral traditions allowed for flexibility, with each storyteller adding their own flair or adapting the tale to fit the needs of their audience. Over time, these myths became more than just entertainment. They became tools for teaching, preserving cultural identity, and exploring the complexities of human nature. Today, these ancient shape-shifter myths continue to inspire modern storytelling, from literature and film to video games and graphic novels. The Kitsune has found its way into anime and manga, where its dual nature is often explored in depth. Anansi's tales have been reimagined in contemporary African literature, offering fresh perspectives on age-old wisdom. Even the Tupilak has made appearances in modern media, symbolizing the enduring power of myth to captivate and educate. This seamless blending of old and new highlights the timelessness of shape-shifter stories, proving that their ability to reflect and shape our understanding of the world is as strong as ever. As we delve deeper into the legacy of these myths, we'll explore how they've influenced not just folklore, but also the way we think about identity, transformation, and the boundaries of humanity. These shape-shifter tales are more than just stories, they're windows into the soul of the cultures that created them, offering insights that continue to resonate across time and space. In today's world, where technology and storytelling have merged in unprecedented ways, the ancient tales of shape-shifters have found new life. From the pages of best-selling novels to the glowing screens of blockbuster films, these mythical beings have been reimagined and reintroduced to audiences who may never have heard their original stories. Take, for example, the Werewolves of Stephanie Meyer's Twilight Saga. Here, the werewolf is no longer just a cursed monster. It's a protector, a symbol of loyalty, and even a romantic rival. Meyer's reinterpretation of lycanthropy taps into modern themes of identity and belonging, transforming the werewolf into a figure that resonates with contemporary audiences. Yet, even as these creatures are adapted for new contexts, they retain echoes of their ancient roots, reminders of the primal forces that have always fascinated us. Similarly, the hit TV series Supernatural brought the chilling legend of the Skinwalker to mainstream audiences, blending traditional Navajo lore with the show's signature blend of horror and humor. In the series, Skinwalkers are portrayed as cunning, malevolent beings that exploit their powers to deceive and destroy. While the show takes creative liberties with the myth, it also introduces viewers to the cultural significance of Skinwalkers, sparking curiosity about the rich traditions from which they originated. This delicate balance, honoring the past while embracing the present, is what makes modern adaptations so compelling. They don't just retell old stories, they reimagine them, ensuring that these myths remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. But why do these stories continue to captivate us, even in an age dominated by science and reason? Part of the answer lies in their timeless themes. Shapeshifter myths explore universal questions about identity, power, and the boundaries between human and animal. In a world where identity is increasingly fluid and technology blurs the lines between reality and fiction, these stories feel more relevant than ever. They challenge us to consider what it means to be human, to confront the parts of ourselves we might prefer to ignore, and to grapple with the consequences of transformation, whether literal or metaphorical. Modern media has also expanded the scope of shapeshifter narratives, introducing new interpretations and variations. In Neil Gaiman's American Gods, for instance, the character of Mr. Nancy, an incarnation of the African trickster god Anansi, embodies the spirit of shape-shifting in both form and function. His ability to adapt and manipulate mirrors the broader themes of cultural evolution and survival that run through the story. Meanwhile, in The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro reimagines the classic monster archetype, blending elements of traditional shapeshifter myths with a poignant exploration of love and otherness. These adaptations demonstrate the versatility of shapeshifter stories, proving that they can be as diverse and multifaceted as the cultures that inspire them. Yet, as these myths evolve, they also raise important questions about authenticity and representation. When traditional stories are adapted for global audiences, how do we ensure that their cultural significance isn't lost or distorted? The resurgence of indigenous storytelling in recent years has brought new attention to this issue, with creators like Rebecca Roanhorse weaving Navajo mythology into her works with care and respect. By centering indigenous voices and perspectives, these stories not only honor their origins but also challenge the dominant narratives that have often marginalized them. The enduring appeal of shapeshifters in modern media is a testament to their power as symbols. They remind us that transformation is not just a fantastical concept, it's a fundamental part of life. Whether it's the werewolf struggling to control its inner beast or the skinwalker wielding its power with intent, these stories invite us to reflect on our own capacity for change. And as we continue to navigate a world in flux, perhaps that's what makes them so enduringly relevant. They remind us that, like the shapeshifters of myth, we too are constantly evolving, adapting, and redefining what it means to be human. In the quiet corners of the world, where the boundaries between reality and myth seem to blur, there are those who swear they've encountered beings that defy explanation. One such account comes from a woman in rural England who recalls a night when she was driving home through dense woods. As her headlights swept across the road, she claims to have seen a figure standing at the edge of the tree line, a man at first glance, but his movements were unnaturally fluid, almost animalistic. Before she could make sense of it, the figure dropped to all fours and vanished into the darkness with impossible speed. Stories like this aren't isolated. They echo across cultures, from the forests of Europe to the deserts of the American Southwest, where others have reported eerie encounters with beings that seem to shift between human and animal forms. But what drives these accounts? Are they glimpses of something otherworldly, or do they reveal something about the human mind? Psychologists point to phenomena like sleep paralysis as a potential explanation. During sleep paralysis, the brain is caught between wakefulness and dreaming, often conjuring vivid, terrifying hallucinations. Imagine waking up, unable to move, and seeing a shadowy figure at the foot of your bed, or worse, feeling its weight pressing down on your chest. For centuries, these experiences have been interpreted as encounters with supernatural entities, from demons to shapeshifters. In cultures where shapeshifter myths are prevalent, it's not surprising that these hallucinations might take on the form of a werewolf, skinwalker, or other transformative being. Cultural conditioning also plays a significant role. If you grow up hearing stories about shapeshifters lurking in the woods or prowling the desert, your mind is primed to interpret ambiguous experiences through that lens. A rustling in the bushes becomes a skinwalker. A fleeting shadow in the moonlight transforms into a werewolf. This doesn't necessarily mean these experiences are fabricated. Rather, they're filtered through the stories and beliefs that shape our understanding of the world. The power of belief is immense, and it can color not just how we interpret events, but how we remember them. Take, for example, the case of a Navajo man who recounted an encounter with a skinwalker during a late-night drive. He described seeing a figure running alongside his car on all fours, its eyes glowing faintly in the dark. When he reached a well-lit area, the figure vanished. While skeptics might attribute this to fatigue or a trick of the light, for the man, it was a chilling confirmation of the stories he'd heard since childhood. This interplay between personal experience and cultural narrative is key to understanding why shapeshifter encounters persist. They're not just about what people see, but what they believe. From a scientific perspective, the idea of literal shape-shifting remains firmly in the realm of myth. Biology, after all, has its limits. The transformation of a human body into that of an animal would require not just physical changes, but a complete restructuring of DNA, anatomy, and physiology, something far beyond the scope of natural processes. Yet, the persistence of these stories raises intriguing questions about the human imagination and our relationship with the unknown. Could these encounters be a way of grappling with the mysteries of the natural world, or perhaps a manifestation of our deepest fears and desires? As we consider these accounts, it's important to approach them with both curiosity and critical thinking. While the scientific evidence may not support the existence of shapeshifters, the stories themselves offer valuable insights into the human experience. They remind us that the line between reality and myth is often thinner than we think, shaped as much by our minds as by the world around us. And as we turn our attention to the scientific perspective on shape-shifting, we'll explore how these ancient myths continue to inspire questions about the nature of transformation, not just in folklore, but in the cutting-edge fields of biology and technology. While the tales of werewolves and skinwalkers captivate our imagination, the science behind shape-shifting tells a different story, one grounded in biology, physics, and the hard limits of the natural world. At its core, the idea of a human transforming into an animal defies the very principles of genetics and anatomy. Our DNA, the blueprint of life, dictates not only our physical form, but also the intricate systems that keep us alive. To shift from human to wolf, for example, would require a complete rewrite of this blueprint, a feat so complex that it remains firmly in the realm of fantasy. Even the smallest genetic mutations, like those that cause rare conditions such as hypertrichosis, sometimes called werewolf syndrome, only alter specific traits like excessive hair growth rather than enabling full-scale transformation. But if science can't explain literal shape-shifting, why do these myths persist? One answer lies in the natural world itself. Take mimicry, for instance, an extraordinary phenomenon where animals adapt their appearance or behavior to imitate other species. The mimic octopus, for example, can change its color, texture, and shape to resemble everything from a venomous lionfish to a sea snake, all to evade predators or ambush prey. While this isn't shape-shifting in the mythical sense, it's a stunning example of how nature blurs the lines between forms. Similarly, certain butterflies mimic the patterns of toxic species to avoid being eaten, and chameleons change their skin color to communicate or regulate temperature. These real-world examples of transformation might have inspired early storytellers, offering a glimpse of nature's ability to adapt and deceive. Another piece of the puzzle lies in animal behavior, particularly the pack dynamics seen in wolves. Wolves are highly social creatures with complex hierarchies and communication systems. Their howls, body language, and coordinated hunting strategies might have led ancient humans to see them as more than mere animals, almost as beings with a shared sense of purpose or even intelligence. This perception, combined with the fear and respect wolves commanded, could have fueled the idea of humans transforming into these powerful creatures. Similarly, the cunning and adaptability of animals like foxes and crows, often associated with trickster figures in mythology, might have contributed to the allure of shape-shifting. Yet, despite these fascinating parallels, the human imagination remains the most powerful force behind shape-shifter myths. Our brains are wired to seek patterns, to fill in gaps, and to make sense of the unknown. When faced with something inexplicable, a shadow in the forest, an unidentifiable sound in the night, it's human nature to create stories that explain it. Shape-shifting myths, in this sense, are as much about our need to understand the world as they are about the creatures themselves. They allow us to explore the boundaries of what's possible, to confront our fears, and to imagine a world where the rules of nature can be bent or broken. So, could science ever make shape-shifting a reality? While the idea of humans transforming into animals remains firmly in the realm of fiction, advances in biotechnology and genetic engineering are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Scientists have already experimented with CRISPR technology to edit genes in animals, creating glowing cats and goats that produce spider silk in their milk. While these feats are a far cry from the transformations of myth, they hint at a future where the lines between species might blur in unexpected ways. Yet, even as science progresses, the enduring mystery of shape-shifting myths reminds us that some questions are as much about the human spirit as they are about biology. These stories, after all, aren't just about changing forms, they're about transformation itself, about the ways we adapt, evolve, and imagine what lies beyond the limits of the known. And in that sense, the myth of the shape-shifter will always have a place in our hearts and minds, no matter how much science reveals about the natural world. Throughout history, the concept of transformation has been more than just a fantastical element in stories. It's a powerful symbol, a way to explore the deepest layers of human experience. Shape-shifter myths, with their vivid imagery of humans becoming beasts or other forms, serve as metaphors for some of the most universal themes: identity, power, fear, and the constant flux of life. These stories aren't just about physical change. They're about what that change represents, whether it's the loss of control, the discovery of hidden strengths, or the struggle to reconcile different parts of ourselves. One of the most compelling aspects of transformation myths is how they reflect the fluidity of identity. Take, for example, the werewolf. On the surface, it's a story about a man turning into a wolf, but beneath that lies a deeper narrative about the duality of human nature. The werewolf embodies the tension between our civilized selves and our primal instincts, between the roles we play in society and the wild, untamed parts of us that we often suppress. This duality resonates because it mirrors the internal conflicts we all face, the struggle to balance who we are with who we're expected to be. In literature, this theme is explored in works like Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where transformation becomes a metaphor for the battle between good and evil within a single person. Transformation also symbolizes power, both its allure and its dangers. In many myths, the ability to change form is a gift, a way to transcend the limitations of the human body and access extraordinary abilities. The Skinwalker, for instance, gains immense power by taking on the form of an animal, but that power comes at a cost, the loss of humanity and the burden of dark choices. This idea of power as a double-edged sword is a recurring theme in stories about shapeshifters. It reflects our own ambivalence about power, how it can liberate us, but also corrupt us if we're not careful. This tension is beautifully captured in Ursula K. Le Guin's A Wizard of Earthsea, where the protagonist learns that true power lies not in domination, but in understanding and balance. Fear, too, is a central theme in transformation myths. The fear of losing control, of becoming something unrecognizable, is a primal human anxiety. Stories of shapeshifters often play on this fear, using transformation as a metaphor for the unpredictability of life. In Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the creature's monstrous form is a symbol of the fear of the unknown and the consequences of unchecked ambition. These stories remind us that transformation, whether literal or metaphorical, can be both thrilling and terrifying, a journey into the unknown that forces us to confront our deepest fears. But transformation isn't just about fear and loss, it's also about growth and renewal. In many myths, shape-shifting represents a rebirth, a chance to shed old identities and embrace new ones. This theme is particularly powerful in stories of personal growth, where characters undergo profound changes to become stronger, wiser, or more compassionate. The Japanese Kitsune, for example, is often portrayed as a being that grows more powerful and enlightened with each transformation, symbolizing the journey toward self-mastery and spiritual awakening. Art and literature have long used transformation as a narrative device to explore these themes. In Ovid's Metamorphoses, transformation is a central motif, with characters undergoing dramatic changes that reflect their inner struggles and desires. Similarly, in modern art, the concept of transformation continues to inspire, from the surrealist works of Salvador Dali to the thought-provoking installations of contemporary artists like Yayoi Kusama. These artistic interpretations remind us that transformation is not just a physical process, it's a deeply human experience, one that resonates across time and culture. Today, these themes of transformation are more relevant than ever. In a world where technology, social change, and globalization are reshaping our lives at an unprecedented pace, stories of shapeshifters offer a way to process these transformations. They remind us that change, while often unsettling, is an intrinsic part of life, and that navigating it requires courage, adaptability, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. Whether it's a werewolf grappling with its inner beast or a skinwalker wielding its power with intent, these stories invite us to reflect on our own capacity for change and growth. As we continue to explore the legacy of shapeshifter myths, we'll see how these ancient stories continue to shape our understanding of identity, power, and transformation. They remind us that the most profound changes aren't always the ones we can see. They're the ones that happen within us, shaping who we are and who we might become. And in a world that's constantly evolving, perhaps that's the most enduring lesson of all. Beneath the allure of transformation lies a shadow, a darker side that shapeshifter myths explore with chilling precision. These stories aren't just about the thrill of becoming something else, they're also about the price that comes with it. Take the werewolf, for instance. While the idea of gaining heightened senses and raw power might seem enticing, the reality is far more grim. The werewolf's curse isn't just a physical transformation. It's a loss of control, a surrender to primal instincts that strip away the very essence of what it means to be human. In many tales, the werewolf is a tragic figure, forced to grapple with the consequences of their actions once the moon wanes and their humanity returns. This theme of loss of control resonates deeply, tapping into our fear of surrendering to forces beyond our command, whether they're internal, like our darker impulses, or external, like the pressures of society. Similarly, the Skinwalker embodies a different kind of darkness, one born of choice rather than curse. In Navajo tradition, becoming a Skinwalker requires a deliberate act of evil, a breaking of sacred laws that severs the individual's connection to humanity. This isn't just about gaining power, it's about corrupting the soul. The Skinwalker's malevolence serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the moral compromises that come with seeking power at any cost. These stories aren't just warnings, they're mirrors reflecting the consequences of crossing boundaries that should never be crossed. They force us to ask, how far would we go for power and what would we be willing to sacrifice? But shapeshifter myths don't just explore the dangers of transformation, they also delve into the moral ambiguity that comes with it. In some tales, the line between hero and villain is blurred. Consider the werewolf who struggles to protect their loved ones while battling their own monstrous nature, or the Skinwalker who uses their powers not for evil but to defend their community. These nuanced portrayals challenge us to see transformation not as inherently good or evil, but as a tool, one that can be wielded for both destruction and salvation. This moral complexity adds depth to the myths, making them more than just cautionary tales. They become explorations of the human condition, forcing us to confront the gray areas of our own choices and actions. At their core, these darker aspects of shapeshifter myths serve as cautionary tales, warning against the dangers of forbidden knowledge and unchecked power. They remind us that transformation, whether literal or metaphorical, isn't without consequences. The werewolf's curse is a reminder of the fragility of our humanity, while the Skinwalker's malevolence underscores the corrupting influence of power. These stories aren't just about monsters, they're about us, about our fears, our desires, and the choices we make in the face of temptation. As we consider these darker themes, it's impossible not to reflect on the ethical implications of transformation. What does it mean to change, and who bears the cost of that change? These questions linger, inviting us to think not just about the myths themselves, but about the lessons they hold for our own lives. And as we move forward, we'll explore how these ancient stories continue to shape our understanding of power, morality, and the boundaries of humanity, offering insights that are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. The idea of gaining the ability to transform into another being might sound thrilling, but shapeshifter myths often come with a heavy dose of moral complexity. These stories aren't just about the power to change forms, they're about the responsibilities and consequences that come with it. Take the werewolf, for example. On the surface, it's a tale of a curse, but dig deeper and you'll find a profound exploration of accountability. Imagine waking up after a night of transformation, only to discover the destruction you've caused. Werewolf legends force us to confront the ethical question. If you're not in control of your actions, are you still responsible for them? This dilemma isn't just limited to folklore. It echoes in modern debates about accountability, from mental health to artificial intelligence. Similarly, the Skinwalker presents a different kind of ethical quandary. In Navajo tradition, becoming a skinwalker isn't an accident. It's a choice, one that involves breaking sacred laws and embracing dark magic. This deliberate act raises questions about the morality of power. What happens when someone willingly sacrifices their humanity for supernatural abilities? The Skinwalker myth serves as a stark reminder that power, especially when gained through unethical means, often comes with a cost not just to the individual, but to the community around them. These stories challenge us to consider the balance between ambition and morality, asking how far we're willing to go to achieve our goals. What's fascinating about Shapeshifter myths is how they blur the line between hero and villain. In some stories, the werewolf isn't just a monster, it's a tragic figure struggling to protect loved ones while battling its own monstrous nature. Modern media has embraced this complexity, portraying shapeshifters as multifaceted characters who defy easy categorization. Take, for instance, the character of Remus Lupin in Harry Potter, a werewolf who fights to maintain his humanity. Lupin embodies the tension between the beast within and the desire to do good. His story forces us to reconsider our assumptions about morality, showing that even those who carry a curse can choose to act with compassion and courage. This ambiguity is also present in the legends of the Kitsune, the fox spirits of Japanese folklore. While some Kitsune are mischievous tricksters, others are benevolent beings who form deep bonds with humans. Their transformations aren't just physical, they're symbolic of the fluid nature of identity and morality. A Kitsune might use its powers to teach a moral lesson, punish greed, or reward kindness depending on the situation. This duality challenges the idea of absolute good and evil, suggesting that morality is often context-dependent and shaped by the choices we make. As these myths evolve, they continue to reflect the ethical dilemmas of their time. In modern storytelling, shapeshifters are often used to explore themes of identity, consent, and the consequences of wielding power. For example, the TV series Teen Wolf delves into the struggles of a young man grappling with his newfound werewolf abilities. His journey isn't just about mastering his powers, it's about navigating the ethical implications of using them. Should he use his strength to protect others, even if it puts him at risk? Or does he owe it to himself to prioritize his own safety? These questions resonate because they're not just about supernatural beings, they're about the choices we all face in our lives. At their core, shapeshifter myths are more than just fantastical tales, they're ethical frameworks, offering insights into the human condition. They remind us that power, in any form, comes with responsibility. Whether it's the werewolf's struggle to control its inner beast or the skinwalker's choice to embrace darkness, these stories force us to confront the consequences of our actions. They challenge us to think critically about the balance between personal ambition and communal well-being, and to consider the impact of our choices on those around us. As we reflect on the cultural significance of these myths, it's clear that their enduring appeal lies in their ability to spark conversation about morality, identity, and the human experience. They invite us to see the world in shades of gray rather than black and white, and to recognize that the line between hero and villain is often far more complex than it appears. And as we continue to explore the legacy of shapeshifters, we'll see how these ancient stories remain a powerful lens through which to examine the ethical challenges of our own time. Shapeshifter myths are more than just stories, they're cultural mirrors, reflecting the values, fears, and aspirations of the societies that created them. These tales often serve as tools for explaining the unexplainable, enforcing social norms, and preserving traditions. Take, for instance, the werewolf legends of medieval Europe. In a time when the wilderness was seen as a dangerous and unpredictable force, the werewolf became a symbol of humanity's struggle against the chaos of nature. It wasn't just a monster, it was a cautionary tale warning against the dangers of straying too far from the safety of civilization. These stories reinforced the idea that the natural world was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a duality that shaped how people understood their place within it. In contrast, the Skinwalker myths of the Navajo people reflect a different set of cultural values. For the Navajo, the Skinwalker isn't just a creature of fear, it's a representation of the consequences of breaking sacred laws. By choosing to embrace dark magic and transform into an animal, the Skinwalker becomes a cautionary figure, a reminder of the importance of balance and harmony within the community. These myths weren't just about scaring people, they were about teaching lessons about the dangers of greed, ambition, and the misuse of power. In this way, Shapeshifter myths served as a form of cultural education, passing down wisdom from one generation to the next. The Kitsune of Japanese folklore offers yet another perspective. In Japan, foxes have long been seen as intelligent and mystical creatures, capable of great cunning and mischief. The Kitsune, with its ability to transform into human form, embodies these traits, often serving as a trickster figure in stories. But the Kitsune isn't just a playful prankster, it's also a messenger of Inari, the Shinto deity of rice and fertility. This duality of mischief and sacredness reflects the Japanese appreciation for complexity and balance. The Kitsune reminds us that transformation isn't always about loss or danger. It can also be a source of wisdom and connection to the divine. These myths also play a crucial role in shaping cultural identity. For many societies, shapeshifter stories are deeply intertwined with their sense of self. They provide a framework for understanding the world, offering explanations for natural phenomena, human behavior, and even the supernatural. In Africa, the tales of Anansi, the spider trickster, aren't just entertaining stories. They're a way of preserving cultural knowledge and values. Through Anansi's cleverness and resourcefulness, listeners learn important lessons about wit, community, and the consequences of greed. These stories aren't just passed down for fun, they're a way of keeping cultural traditions alive. But shapeshifter myths aren't static. They evolve over time, adapting to the changing needs and beliefs of the societies that tell them. In modern times, these stories have taken on new meanings, reflecting contemporary fears and aspirations. For example, the werewolf has been reimagined in countless ways, from the tragic figure of Teen Wolf to the romanticized versions in Twilight. These adaptations show how shapeshifter myths continue to resonate, offering new ways to explore timeless themes like identity, power, and transformation. Even as the world changes, these stories remain relevant, proving that the human fascination with transformation is as strong as ever. What's remarkable about shapeshifter myths is their ability to adapt while retaining their core meanings. Whether it's the werewolf of Europe, the Skinwalker of the Navajo, or the Kitsune of Japan, these stories continue to captivate us because they speak to something universal within the human experience. They remind us that transformation, whether literal or metaphorical, is a fundamental part of life. And as we look to the future, it's clear that these myths will continue to evolve, offering new insights into who we are and who we might become. As we journey through the annals of human history, one thing becomes clear: shapeshifter myths are not static. They evolve, adapt, and transform, much like the beings they describe. From the ancient forests of Mesopotamia to the digital landscapes of the 21st century, these stories have shifted to reflect the fears, hopes, and values of the societies that tell them. In the distant past, shapeshifters were often tied to the natural world, embodying the mysteries of the wilderness and the divine. The Mesopotamian wolfman, cursed by the gods, or the Greek king Lycaon, transformed into a beast for his arrogance, served as cautionary tales about humanity's place in the cosmos. These early myths were deeply rooted in the spiritual and natural realms, offering explanations for the unexplainable and teaching moral lessons through transformation. Fast forward to the Middle Ages and the shapeshifter takes on a new role. In Europe, the werewolf emerges as a symbol of primal fear, reflecting the anxieties of a society grappling with the unknown. The forests were no longer just places of wonder, they were dangerous, filled with wolves and other threats. The werewolf became a scapegoat for these fears, a creature that embodied the chaos lurking just beyond the edges of civilization. This shift in focus, from divine punishment to societal fear, shows how shapeshifter myths adapt to the needs of their time. They are not just stories, they are mirrors, reflecting the cultural and psychological landscapes of the people who tell them. The Industrial Revolution and the rise of modernity brought yet another transformation. As science and reason began to dominate, shapeshifter myths didn't disappear, they evolved. In the 19th century, literature took the helm, reimagining these creatures in ways that resonated with a rapidly changing world. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, while not a traditional shapeshifter story, explores themes of transformation and the consequences of playing God. Similarly, Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde delves into the duality of human nature, using transformation as a metaphor for the struggle between good and evil. These works mark a turning point where shapeshifter myths begin to explore not just external change, but internal conflict, a theme that continues to resonate today. In the 20th and 21st centuries, globalization and technology have taken shapeshifter myths to new heights. The rise of film and television has allowed these stories to reach global audiences, introducing ancient legends to people who might never have heard them otherwise. Take The Wolfman, the classic 1941 film that brought the werewolf into the mainstream. Here, the werewolf is no longer just a monster, it's a tragic figure cursed by fate and struggling with its own nature. This portrayal, with its emphasis on inner conflict, reflects the psychological complexity of modern storytelling. Similarly, the Skinwalker, once a figure of Navajo folklore, has found new life in shows like Supernatural, where it is reimagined as a cunning and malevolent being. These adaptations show how shapeshifter myths can cross cultural boundaries, gaining new meanings in the process. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of shapeshifter myths today is how they intersect with technology. In a world where artificial intelligence and genetic engineering are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, the idea of transformation takes on new dimensions. Films like The Shape of Water and Annihilation explore themes of metamorphosis and hybridity, using shape-shifting as a metaphor for the fluidity of identity in a rapidly changing world. Even video games, with their immersive storytelling, have embraced shape-shifter myths. Titles like The Witcher and Werewolf, the apocalypse allow players to experience transformation firsthand, blurring the line between myth and reality in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. As we look to the future, it's clear that shapeshifter myths will continue to evolve. In a world where technology is reshaping our understanding of identity and reality, these stories offer a way to grapple with the unknown. They remind us that transformation is not just a fantastical concept, it's a fundamental part of life. Whether it's the werewolf struggling to control its inner beast or the skinwalker wielding its power with intent, these myths invite us to reflect on our own capacity for change and growth. And as long as humans continue to tell stories, shapeshifters will remain a powerful symbol of the endless possibilities of transformation. As we stand on the brink of a new era defined by rapid technological advancements and cultural shifts, the future of shapeshifter myths is as intriguing as it is uncertain. What new forms might these ancient stories take in a world where artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and genetic engineering are reshaping our understanding of identity and reality? Imagine a future where shape-shifting isn't confined to folklore, but becomes a literal possibility through bioengineering. Scientists are already experimenting with CRISPR technology to edit genes, creating organisms with traits that blur the lines between species. Could we one day see humans with the ability to adapt their physical forms, not through magic but through science? Such a reality would undoubtedly give rise to new myths, blending the boundaries between science fiction and age-old legend. The digital age also offers fertile ground for the evolution of shape-shifter stories. In virtual worlds, avatars allow us to transform ourselves at will, adopting new identities and exploring alternate realities. Games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Second Life already let players shape-shift in digital spaces, embodying everything from fantastical creatures to futuristic hybrids. These virtual transformations echo the themes of shape-shifter myths, offering a modern twist on the age-old desire to transcend our limitations. As virtual reality becomes more immersive, could we see stories where digital shape-shifters become as real to us as the werewolves and skinwalkers of old? The possibilities are endless, and the line between myth and reality grows ever thinner. Storytelling itself is evolving, with new mediums and formats pushing the boundaries of how we experience narratives. Interactive storytelling, where audiences can influence the outcome of a story, might give rise to shape-shifter tales that adapt to the choices of the viewer. Imagine a story where the protagonist's transformation depends on decisions made by the audience, creating a deeply personal and immersive experience. This fusion of technology and myth could breathe new life into shape-shifter stories, making them more relevant and engaging for future generations. Yet, even as these myths evolve, their core appeal remains unchanged. At their heart, shape-shifter stories are about transformation, about the fear and fascination of becoming something other than ourselves. This universal theme resonates across cultures and time periods, ensuring that these myths will continue to captivate us, no matter how much the world changes. Whether it's a werewolf struggling with its inner beast in a medieval forest or a digital avatar navigating the complexities of identity in a virtual world, the essence of these stories remains the same. They challenge us to confront the unknown, to explore the boundaries of who we are, and to imagine what we might become. As we look to the future, one thing is clear: the enduring power of shape-shifter myths lies in their ability to adapt. They are not relics of the past, but living stories, constantly evolving to reflect the hopes, fears, and dreams of each new generation. Whether through science, technology, or storytelling, these myths will continue to shape our understanding of transformation, reminding us that change is not just a fantastical concept, it's a fundamental part of the human experience. And as long as we continue to tell stories, shape-shifters will remain a powerful symbol of the endless possibilities of transformation, inviting us to explore the mysteries of identity, power, and the unknown. Fear is the heartbeat of shape-shifter myths, a force that pulses through every story, every transformation, and every chilling encounter. These legends don't just entertain, they unsettle, tapping into our most primal fears of the unknown, the monstrous, and the uncontrollable. At their core, shape-shifter tales are about the fear of losing control of our bodies, our minds, and our humanity. Imagine the terror of looking into a mirror and no longer recognizing yourself, of feeling your limbs twist and stretch into something alien, something other. This fear of transformation isn't just about physical change. It's about identity, about the fragile line that separates us from the chaos of the wild. Take the werewolf, for example. In countless stories, the transformation is depicted as agonizing, a process of bones cracking, muscles tearing, and skin sprouting fur. The full moon, with its eerie glow, becomes a symbol of inevitability, a force that strips away the protagonist's humanity and leaves only a beast in its place. This imagery isn't just for shock value, it's a mirror of our own fears. The werewolf embodies the terror of surrendering to our darkest impulses, of becoming something we can't control. It's a fear that resonates deeply, whether you're hearing the tale by a medieval campfire or watching it unfold on a modern screen. But fear in Shapeshifter myths isn't just about the monsters themselves, it's also about the tension they create. These stories often thrive on suspense, drawing us in with the promise of something lurking just beyond the edge of perception. In Native American legends, the Skinwalker is rarely seen outright. It's hinted at, whispered about, a shadow that moves just a little too fast or a sound that doesn't belong. This ambiguity keeps us on edge, forcing us to fill in the gaps with our own imaginations. And what we imagine is often far more terrifying than anything the storyteller could describe. Fear also serves a moral purpose in these tales. In many cultures, Shapeshifter myths are cautionary stories, warning against the dangers of hubris, greed, or straying too far from societal norms. The Greek myth of Lycaon, for instance, uses transformation as a punishment for his arrogance, turning him into a wolf as a stark reminder of the consequences of defying the gods. Similarly, Navajo Skinwalker stories emphasize the dangers of breaking sacred laws, using fear to reinforce the importance of balance and harmony within the community. These tales don't just scare us, they teach us, using fear as a tool to convey timeless lessons about morality and the consequences of our actions. Modern media has embraced this role of fear, using shapeshifters to explore contemporary anxieties. In shows like Supernatural, the Skinwalker isn't just a monster, it's a metaphor for the unknown, a representation of the dangers that lurk in the shadows of the modern world. Similarly, films like The Wolfman and An American Werewolf in London use the werewolf's transformation as a metaphor for the loss of control in an increasingly chaotic world. These stories remind us that fear is universal, a thread that connects us to the past even as we navigate the uncertainties of the present. Yet, fear in Shapeshifter myths isn't always about the monsters themselves, it's also about the power they wield. The ability to transform, to become something more than human, is both a gift and a curse. It's this duality, this tension between fear and power, that makes these stories so compelling. And as we explore the role of power in Shapeshifter myths, we'll see how these tales continue to reflect our deepest fears and desires, offering insights into the human condition that remain as relevant today as they were centuries ago. Power is the beating heart of Shapeshifter myths, a force that drives transformation, defines relationships, and shapes destinies. These stories often revolve around the allure of power, whether it's the ability to transform, to dominate, or to resist. But power in these tales is never simple. It's a double-edged sword, offering both extraordinary abilities and profound consequences. Take the Skinwalker, for instance. In Navajo tradition, the Skinwalker's power comes from dark magic, a deliberate choice to break sacred laws and embrace transformation. This isn't just about gaining strength or speed, it's about wielding power in ways that defy the natural order. Yet, this power comes at a cost: the loss of humanity, the burden of isolation, and the weight of moral compromise. The Skinwalker's story is a stark reminder that power, especially when misused, can corrupt not just the individual but the community as well. Similarly, the werewolf embodies the tension between power and vulnerability. On one hand, the transformation grants incredible strength, heightened senses, and a primal connection to the natural world. On the other, it strips away control, leaving the individual at the mercy of their instincts. This duality is central to the werewolf myth. Power is both a blessing and a curse. In modern media, this theme is explored in shows like Teen Wolf, where the protagonist struggles to balance his newfound abilities with the responsibilities they entail. The power to transform isn't just about physical change, it's about navigating the ethical dilemmas that come with it, from protecting loved ones to resisting the temptation to dominate others. But power in shapeshifter myths isn't always about domination. Sometimes it's about resistance. Consider the Japanese Kitsune, a fox spirit capable of transforming into human form. In many stories, the Kitsune uses its powers not to control or harm, but to challenge authority, outwit enemies, or protect the vulnerable. This subversion of power dynamics is a recurring theme in shapeshifter myths, reflecting the idea that true strength lies not in domination, but in resilience and cleverness. The Kitsune's ability to adapt and transform becomes a metaphor for resistance, a way to navigate a world where power is often wielded unjustly. These myths also explore the societal implications of power. In medieval Europe, werewolf legends often served as cautionary tales, warning against the dangers of unchecked ambition and the misuse of authority. The werewolf's transformation was seen as a metaphor for the chaos that arises when individuals or institutions abuse their power. Similarly, in African folklore, the spider trickster Anansi uses his cunning to challenge those in positions of authority, turning the tables on the powerful and empowering the marginalized. These stories remind us that power isn't just an individual trait, it's a force that shapes communities, cultures, and societies. As we consider the role of power in shapeshifter myths, it's impossible not to reflect on the ethical dimensions of transformation. What does it mean to wield power responsibly? How do we navigate the temptations and consequences that come with it? These questions are as relevant today as they were centuries ago, whether we're discussing mythical creatures or the real-world challenges of leadership and influence. Shapeshifter myths invite us to grapple with these complexities, offering timeless insights into the nature of power and the choices we make. And as we peel back the layers of these stories, we begin to see how power is deeply intertwined with identity. The ability to transform isn't just about physical change, it's about redefining who we are, both to ourselves and to others. This connection between power and identity is a thread that runs through every shapeshifter myth, from the cursed werewolf to the mischievous Kitsune. And as we explore this intersection, we'll uncover even deeper layers of meaning, revealing how these ancient stories continue to shape our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Identity is the beating heart of shapeshifter myths, a theme that resonates deeply across cultures and centuries. These stories aren't just about physical transformation, they're about the struggle to define who we are, both to ourselves and to others. At their core, shapeshifter tales explore the tension between our human selves and the primal, untamed aspects of our nature. Take the werewolf, for example. Its transformation isn't just a physical change, it's a battle for identity. When the moon rises, the human is no longer in control and the beast takes over. This duality of man and monster, civilization and savagery, mirrors our own internal conflicts. How much of our identity is shaped by the roles we play in society, and how much is rooted in instincts we can't fully suppress? Shapeshifter myths force us to confront these questions, offering a lens through which to examine the complexities of self. In Native American folklore, the Skinwalker embodies a different kind of identity struggle. Unlike the werewolf, whose transformation is often involuntary, the Skinwalker chooses to become something other than human. This deliberate act of transformation raises questions about the nature of identity itself. Is identity something innate, or can it be reshaped through will and action? The Skinwalker's decision to embrace dark magic and take on an animal form reflects a rejection of societal norms and a redefinition of self. Yet, this choice comes at a cost: the loss of humanity and the burden of isolation. These stories remind us that identity is not just about who we are, it's also about the choices we make and the consequences we face. Modern media has embraced these themes, using shapeshifters to explore contemporary issues of identity and belonging. In Teen Wolf, the protagonist Scott McCall grapples with his newfound werewolf abilities while trying to maintain his relationships and sense of self. His journey isn't just about mastering his powers, it's about navigating the challenges of adolescence, from peer pressure to first love, all while wrestling with the question of what it means to be different. Similarly, in The Shape of Water, the amphibious creature represents the outsider, the other who defies easy categorization. Through its relationship with the protagonist, the film explores themes of acceptance, love, and the fluidity of identity. These modern adaptations show how shapeshifter myths continue to resonate, offering new ways to explore timeless questions about who we are and where we belong. But identity in shapeshifter myths isn't just an individual struggle, it's also a reflection of broader societal concerns. In many cultures, these stories serve as metaphors for the challenges of navigating social roles and expectations. The Kitsune of Japanese folklore, for instance, often takes on human form to interact with people, but its true nature as a fox spirit is never far from the surface. This duality reflects the tension between public and private selves, between the roles we play in society and the truths we hide beneath the surface. Similarly, in African folklore, the spider trickster Anansi uses his cunning and adaptability to navigate a world filled with powerful adversaries. His ability to shift roles and strategies mirrors the challenges faced by marginalized communities who must often adapt and transform to survive in an unequal world. Shapeshifter myths also explore the idea of identity as a journey, a process of becoming rather than a fixed state. In The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the protagonist's transformation isn't just physical, it's a descent into the darker aspects of his own psyche. His struggle to control Hyde reflects the human desire to understand and integrate the different parts of ourselves, even those we fear or reject. This theme of integration is central to many shapeshifter stories, which often end not with the rejection of the transformed self, but with a reconciliation of its dual nature. The werewolf who learns to control its instincts, the kitsune who embraces both its human and fox forms, these characters remind us that identity is not a binary but a spectrum. The enduring appeal of shapeshifter myths lies in their ability to reflect our own struggles with identity and belonging. In a world where identity is increasingly fluid and complex, these stories offer a way to explore the boundaries of self, to confront our fears, and to imagine new possibilities for who we might become. They remind us that transformation is not just a fantastical concept, it's a fundamental part of the human experience. And as we continue to navigate the challenges of a rapidly changing world, these myths will remain a powerful lens through which to examine the mysteries of identity, offering insights that are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. As we delve deeper into the cultural significance of shapeshifter myths, we'll see how these ancient stories continue to shape our understanding of identity, power, and the boundaries of humanity. They are more than just tales of monsters and magic. They are reflections of our deepest fears, desires, and questions, inviting us to explore the endless possibilities of transformation. What is it about shapeshifter myths that keeps us coming back century after century, culture after culture? The answer lies in their ability to tap into something fundamental within us, something that transcends time and place. These stories aren't just about monsters or magic, they're about the human experience itself. They explore the tension between who we are and who we might become, between our civilized selves and the wild, untamed parts of our nature. Whether it's the cursed werewolf, the malevolent skinwalker, or the playful kitsune, shapeshifter myths resonate because they reflect our deepest fears, desires, and questions about what it means to be human. At their core, these myths are about transformation, a theme that is as universal as it is timeless. We all experience change in our lives, whether it's the physical transformations of growing older, the emotional shifts that come with love and loss, or the societal changes that redefine our world. Shapeshifter stories give us a way to process these experiences, to explore the chaos and beauty of transformation in a safe, symbolic space. Take the werewolf, for example. Its struggle to control its inner beast mirrors our own battles with the darker aspects of ourselves, the parts we try to hide or suppress. These stories remind us that transformation isn't always easy or comfortable, but it's an intrinsic part of life. But shapeshifter myths don't just explore change, they also delve into the duality of human nature. The werewolf's split between man and beast, the skinwalker's choice between humanity and power, the kitsune's playful yet sacred nature. These dualities reflect our own complexities. We all carry within us the potential for kindness and cruelty, for creation and destruction. Shapeshifter myths force us to confront these contradictions, to acknowledge that the line between good and evil, human and animal, is often far more blurred than we'd like to admit. This complexity is what makes these stories so compelling, so relatable, even in a world that's vastly different from the one in which they were first told. Modern media has embraced this enduring appeal, reimagining shapeshifter myths for contemporary audiences. In Teen Wolf, the protagonist's transformation isn't just a physical change. It's a metaphor for the challenges of adolescence, from peer pressure to first love. The show uses the werewolf myth to explore themes of identity, belonging, and the struggle to fit in, issues that resonate with viewers of all ages. Similarly, in The Shape of Water, the amphibious creature represents the outsider, the other who defies easy categorization. Through its relationship with the protagonist, the film explores themes of acceptance, love, and the fluidity of identity, offering a poignant reminder that transformation isn't just about becoming something else. It's about finding connection in a world that often fears what it doesn't understand. These modern adaptations show how shapeshifter myths continue to evolve, reflecting the hopes and fears of each new generation. In a world where technology, globalization, and social change are reshaping our lives at an unprecedented pace, these stories offer a way to grapple with the unknown. They remind us that transformation, while often unsettling, is a fundamental part of life. Whether it's the werewolf's struggle to control its inner beast or the skinwalker's choice to embrace darkness, these myths invite us to reflect on our own capacity for change and growth. So, what lessons can we take from these enduring tales? Perhaps the most important is that transformation is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. Shapeshifter myths challenge us to confront the unknown, to explore the boundaries of who we are, and to imagine what we might become. They remind us that change, while often difficult, is also an opportunity, a chance to grow, to adapt, and to discover new possibilities. And in a world that's constantly evolving, perhaps that's the most enduring lesson of all. These stories aren't just about monsters, they're about us, about our fears, our desires, and the endless possibilities of transformation. And as long as we continue to tell them, they'll remain a powerful lens through which to explore the mysteries of the human experience. Shapeshifter myths are more than just tales of monsters and magic. They're profound explorations of the human condition, offering timeless lessons about who we are and how we navigate the world. At their heart, these stories teach us about the importance of self-control. Take the werewolf, for instance. Its transformation into a beast isn't just a physical change. It's a metaphor for the struggle to master our own instincts and impulses. In countless tales, the werewolf's curse is as much about losing control as it is about becoming something monstrous. This theme resonates because it mirrors our own battles with temptation, fear, and the darker aspects of our nature. These myths remind us that self-control isn't just about restraint, it's about understanding and integrating the different parts of ourselves, even the ones we'd rather keep hidden. Another key lesson from Shapeshifter myths is the danger of unchecked power. The Skinwalker, with its ability to transform at will, represents the allure of power and the moral compromises that often come with it. In Navajo tradition, becoming a Skinwalker requires breaking sacred laws, a deliberate act of evil that severs the individual's connection to humanity. This isn't just a cautionary tale about the misuse of power, it's a warning about the cost of ambition and the corruption that can arise when we prioritize personal gain over communal well-being. Modern media echoes this theme, with characters like Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars or Walter White in Breaking Bad embodying the tragic consequences of power left unchecked. These stories challenge us to reflect on the ethical dimensions of power and the responsibilities that come with it. Identity, too, is a central theme in Shapeshifter myths, offering a lens through which to explore the complexities of self. The Kitsune of Japanese folklore, with its ability to shift between fox and human forms, embodies the fluidity of identity. One moment, it's a mischievous trickster, the next, a wise and benevolent being. This duality reflects the multifaceted nature of identity itself, how we can be one thing in one context and something entirely different in another. In a world where identity is increasingly fluid and contested, these myths offer a way to grapple with questions about who we are and how we define ourselves. They remind us that identity isn't fixed, it's a journey, a process of becoming rather than a static state. But perhaps the most enduring lesson of Shapeshifter myths is their ability to inspire. These stories don't just explore the darker aspects of human nature, they also celebrate resilience, adaptability, and the potential for growth. In Teen Wolf, Scott McCall's journey from an awkward teenager to a confident leader mirrors the universal experience of growing up and finding one's place in the world. Similarly, in The Shape of Water, the amphibious creature's relationship with the protagonist offers a poignant reminder that transformation isn't just about change. It's about connection, about finding beauty and meaning in the unfamiliar. These modern adaptations show how Shapeshifter myths continue to inspire us, offering new ways to explore timeless themes like courage, love, and the power of transformation. As we reflect on these lessons, it's clear that Shapeshifter myths are more than just stories, they're tools for understanding ourselves and the world around us. They challenge us to confront our fears, to embrace our complexities, and to imagine new possibilities for who we might become. In a world that's constantly changing, these myths remind us that transformation isn't something to be feared, but something to be embraced. They invite us to see change not as a threat, but as an opportunity, a chance to grow, to adapt, and to discover the endless possibilities of the human spirit. And as we continue to navigate the challenges of life, these ancient stories will remain a source of wisdom, inspiration, and hope, guiding us through the mysteries of transformation and the journey of self-discovery. Shapeshifter myths are more than just ancient tales. They're a wellspring of inspiration, urging us to embrace change, confront our fears, and explore the unknown. These stories, steeped in mystery and transformation, have a unique way of sparking creativity and resilience, offering lessons that resonate across time and culture. Take the Kitsune of Japanese folklore, for example. This clever fox spirit isn't just a trickster, it's a symbol of adaptability and intelligence. Its ability to shift forms teaches us the power of flexibility, encouraging us to think outside the box and navigate life's challenges with ingenuity. Whether it's outsmarting a rival or teaching a moral lesson, the Kitsune's stories remind us that transformation isn't just about changing shape, it's about evolving our mindset and finding creative solutions to problems. Modern media has embraced this idea, using shapeshifters to inspire self-discovery and personal growth. In Teen Wolf, Scott McCall's journey from an ordinary teenager to a confident leader mirrors the universal experience of growing up and finding one's place in the world. His struggles with his werewolf abilities aren't just about mastering superhuman strength. They're about learning to balance his human and animal sides, to embrace his flaws, and to find strength in vulnerability. This narrative resonates because it reflects our own journeys of self-discovery, encouraging us to confront our fears and embrace the parts of ourselves we might otherwise hide. Shapeshifter myths also inspire resilience, showing us how to adapt and thrive in the face of adversity. The Navajo Skinwalker, though often portrayed as malevolent, embodies the idea that transformation can be a source of power. While the Skinwalker's choices are dark, its ability to adapt and survive in harsh conditions serves as a metaphor for resilience. In a world where change is constant, these stories remind us that we, too, can find strength in transformation, even when the path ahead seems uncertain. The key lies in how we choose to wield that power, whether for harm or for growth. Perhaps one of the most profound ways these myths inspire us is by encouraging us to confront the unknown. Transformation, by its very nature, is unpredictable. It forces us to step into the unfamiliar, to let go of what we know and embrace what lies beyond. In the shape of water, the amphibious creature represents the beauty of the unknown, challenging the protagonist and the audience to see beyond appearances and connect with something truly extraordinary. This theme of embracing the unfamiliar is a powerful reminder that growth often lies beyond our comfort zones. Even as we draw inspiration from these myths, they remain shrouded in mystery. Why do these stories captivate us so deeply? What is it about the idea of transformation that continues to resonate across cultures and generations? The answer may lie in their ability to reflect the human experience in all its complexity, our fears, our desires, and our endless capacity for change. Shapeshifter myths remind us that transformation isn't just a fantastical concept, it's a fundamental part of life. They invite us to explore the boundaries of who we are, to confront our fears, and to imagine new possibilities for what we might become. And as long as these mysteries endure, so too will the inspiration they provide, guiding us through the ever-shifting landscapes of our lives. Shapeshifter myths have captivated us for centuries, weaving tales of transformation that blur the lines between human and beast, reality and fantasy. Yet, even as these stories unfold, they leave us with more questions than answers. What is the true nature of transformation? Is it a curse, a gift, or something in between? These myths challenge us to reconsider the boundaries of humanity, what makes us human, and how thin is the line that separates us from the animal world. The werewolf, for instance, embodies this tension perfectly. It's not just a monster, it's a symbol of the primal instincts we all carry within us, a reminder that humanity is as fragile as it is resilient. But what happens when those boundaries are crossed? Do we lose ourselves, or do we discover something new about who we truly are? Another lingering question is the power of belief. How much of these myths are shaped by the stories we tell ourselves? In Navajo culture, the fear of skinwalkers is so deeply ingrained that even speaking their name is considered dangerous. This belief isn't just superstition, it's a cultural force shaping how people interpret the world around them. Modern media plays a similar role, reimagining shapeshifters in ways that reflect contemporary anxieties. In Supernatural, skinwalkers aren't just creatures of folklore. They're manifestations of fear itself, tapping into our collective unease about the unknown. These stories remind us that belief isn't just about what's real, it's about how we make sense of the world and how those narratives shape our actions and perceptions. The mystery of transformation itself is another puzzle that keeps these myths alive. Is it a physical process, a spiritual journey, or a metaphor for change? In Japanese folklore, the Kitsune transforms not just its body but its very essence, embodying the fluidity of identity. Similarly, in The Shape of Water, the amphibious creature's transformation isn't just about its appearance. It's about connection, love, and the possibility of finding beauty in the unfamiliar. These stories suggest that transformation isn't just about what changes on the outside, it's about what shifts within us, how we grow, adapt, and find new ways to navigate the world. Yet, despite all the questions they raise, shapeshifter myths endure because they invite us to explore the unknown. They remind us that mystery isn't something to be solved, it's something to be embraced. These stories don't just entertain, they provoke thought, spark curiosity, and challenge us to see the world through a different lens. Whether it's the eerie howl of a werewolf under a full moon or the silent, predatory gaze of a skinwalker in the desert, these myths tap into something primal within us, a fascination with the boundaries of what's possible. As we reflect on the enduring appeal of these tales, it's clear that their power lies in their ability to evolve. From ancient folklore to modern media, shapeshifter myths have adapted to reflect the fears, hopes, and questions of each generation. They remind us that transformation is not just a fantastical concept, it's a fundamental part of life. These stories challenge us to confront our fears, to embrace the unknown, and to imagine new possibilities for who we might become. And as long as these questions remain unanswered, shapeshifter myths will continue to captivate us, offering a timeless lens through which to explore the mysteries of the human experience. So, what have we learned from this journey through the world of shapeshifters? We've seen how these myths reflect our deepest fears and desires, how they challenge our understanding of identity and power, and how they continue to evolve in ways that resonate with modern audiences. Most importantly, we've discovered that transformation is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced, a reminder that change, while often unsettling, is also an opportunity for growth and discovery. These myths may leave us with unanswered questions, but perhaps that's the point. It's the mystery that keeps us coming back, sparking our imagination, and inviting us to explore the endless possibilities of transformation. And in a world that's constantly changing, perhaps that's the most enduring lesson of all. From the ancient forests of Mesopotamia to the neon-lit streets of modern storytelling, shapeshifter myths have journeyed through time, evolving with each generation while retaining their core fascination. These tales, born from humanity's deepest fears and wildest imaginations, have always been more than just stories of monsters and magic. They are mirrors reflecting our struggles with identity, power, and the unknown. We've explored how the cursed werewolf embodies the tension between man and beast, how the skinwalker warns of the perils of unchecked ambition, and how the kitsune celebrates the fluidity of identity and the power of adaptation. Each myth, from the Navajo's Inoldlushii to the Japanese fox spirits, carries a unique lesson, yet they all share a common thread. Transformation is a universal experience, both terrifying and transformative. Shapeshifter myths have not only survived but thrived, adapting to the fears and values of each era. In medieval Europe, the werewolf became a symbol of primal fear, reflecting the anxieties of a society surrounded by dark forests and unseen dangers. Today, in films like The Shape of Water or shows like Teen Wolf, these stories speak to modern concerns about identity, belonging, and the ethical implications of power. They remind us that transformation isn't just a fantastical concept, it's a metaphor for the changes we all face in life, whether it's growing up, navigating relationships, or confronting the unknown. These myths challenge us to embrace change, not as something to fear, but as an opportunity for growth and discovery. At their heart, shapeshifter myths are about the human condition, our fears, our desires, and our endless capacity for reinvention. They remind us that the line between human and beast, between the known and the unknown, is often thinner than we think. These stories invite us to explore the boundaries of who we are and what we might become, offering insights that are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. Whether it's the werewolf's struggle for control, the skinwalker's moral dilemmas, or the kitsune's playful wisdom, these myths resonate because they reflect the complexities of our own lives. As we wrap up this journey through the world of shapeshifters, let's leave with a thought from Joseph Campbell, the renowned mythologist. Myths are public dreams, dreams are private myths. Shapeshifter myths, like all great stories, are more than just entertainment. They are windows into the collective psyche, offering us a way to process our fears, understand our desires, and imagine new possibilities. They remind us that transformation, whether literal or metaphorical, is not just a fantastical idea, it's a fundamental part of being human. So, what do these stories mean to you? Have you ever felt the pull of transformation, the desire to shed your old skin and embrace something new? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspectives and experiences. And if you're hungry for more explorations of myth, mystery, and the human experience, don't forget to subscribe and explore more content on the channel. Until next time, remember, the most fascinating transformations aren't the ones that happen in the moonlight or the desert. They're the ones that happen within us. Keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep